Oh, this is mad, isn't it? This is all completely mad.
You should have shut your mouth. And if
Is that she thinks it's going to be great. You can be really nasty.
Balmoral was supposed to be the escape, the sacred August retreat where the Windsor machine finally stopped grinding and the family became a family again. Stalking, picnics, quiet dinners, private jokes. The only fortnight of the year when duty was meant to loosen its grip, but this year, something followed them through the gates of Balmoral Castle, and it was not peace. It was the Sussex question. And the real decision inside that house was not whether Prince Harry and Meghan Markle could return to Britain. That question was already poisoned. The real question was far colder. Which rooms would they be allowed into? Which doors would stay closed? And who now had the power to decide? Because that is the entire scandal hiding in plain sight. Harry and Meghan spent 5 years asking, pushing, explaining, leaking, announcing, retreating, returning, and circling the same impossible target, a room inside somebody else's house. But now,
Today, at the so-called Sussex summit in Balmoral, Prince William has secured a promise from King Charles that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will not officially return as working royals.
on 2 continents, the answer appears to be the same. No, not from one angry palace aide, not from one newspaper columnist, not from one bitter relative. From Britain, from America.
With Balmoral now, this is where the royals always have a holiday at this time of year there, but it has turned into a kind of emergency crisis summit about what the royal family are going to do about this pair of ingrates, the Sussexes, coming back from America.
From the royal family, from political circles, from public opinion, from the commercial world. One door after another has started shutting. And the frightening part is that the people closing them are not all connected. This was not a summit anybody officially scheduled. That is what makes it more dangerous. Balmoral became a summit because reality forced itself into the holiday. The late Queen Elizabeth loved that place because it stripped the monarchy back to blood, boots, dogs, weather, and tradition. Yet this week, the institution followed the family up the drive. Prince William was there, Princess Anne was there, the Tyndalls were there, Edward was there. Sophie was there. Senior royals were under one roof, and suddenly the private question of Harry's future became a family emergency with constitutional weight. The first door was the most brutal because it came from the future king. Prince William and Catherine had already locked the working return from their side, and the king's word now appeared behind that lock. Harry could come back to Britain as a son, perhaps as a visitor, perhaps as a wounded man seeking family ground again, but not as a working royal. Not as a half-in, half-out public figure, not as a badge without the job. William's power in this moment was not loud. It was structural. He did not need to shout across Balmoral. He needed one promise from his father, and that promise changed the entire map. Then came Christmas, gone before the plane had even landed. Think about the image Britain actually understands. The Sandringham walk to church, the royal line moving slowly past cameras, the family performing unity for the country. Harry and Meghan were not in that image anymore, not standing beside William, not walking behind King Charles, not giving the public that carefully staged photograph of reconciliation. Christmas is not just a holiday in the royal calendar, it is proof of belonging. And if the Sussexes are absent from that walk, the message is not private pain, it is public exclusion. Then the mirror confirmed the silence everyone already felt, but had not fully measured. Prince William has not spoken to Prince Harry in person since Queen Elizabeth's funeral in September 2022. No phone call, no text. 2.5 years, 2 brothers, 1 dead grandmother, 1 country, 1 monarchy between them, and still nothing. That is not a normal family argument anymore. That is an institutional freeze. It means every headline about reconciliation has been floating over a pit of total communication collapse. But the detail involving Catherine is the one that changes the temperature completely. During Catherine's cancer battle, while the family faced uncertainty and fear, there were reportedly mutterings that Harry was prepared to return and help. On paper, that should have been the perfect opening. A brother offering support, a family under pressure, a chance to soften the war. But the family looked at that offer and decided it was not worth having. Not badly timed, not emotionally difficult, not complicated. not worthwhile. That is status loss in its sharpest form. A prince so mistrusted that his help becomes more dangerous than his absence. Robert Jobson's role matters because he is not some random commentator chasing noise. He has covered King Charles for decades, and he is not calling for a whisper at Highgrove or one emotional phone call behind closed doors. What he wants is public, out loud, in front of the country. Because this is no longer just family damage. It is reputational debt. 5 years of accusations created a national record, and private forgiveness cannot erase what was delivered publicly. So that is Britain's side of the trap. The working door shut, the Christmas door shut, the brotherhood door frozen, Catherine's household protected, and the king pressured into holding the line. Which leaves the only question that truly matters. Why come back at all? Not explain why America suddenly looked smaller. Because if this were only about a legal bill, the story would be simple. Netflix faded, Spotify faded, speeches cooled, and the California dream became expensive. But then a stranger American threat appeared, and almost nobody in Britain had fully absorbed it yet. There was a sit-down with the governor of California, publicly dressed up as a friendly welcome to California chat. But the bigger revelation came from late 2021, when Harry and Meghan reportedly requested an Oval Office meeting with Joe Biden and accommodation at Blair House. Blair House is not a hotel. It is where the United States government hosts visiting heads of state. Presidents stay there. Prime ministers stay there. Kings stay there. Harry and Meghan asked for the Oval Office and a bed in the house kept for world leaders. And the White House said no, because the optics could have triggered a diplomatic incident with Downing Street and the king. That was the wound. Two people with no official job, no office, and no standing were asking to move through Washington like royalty. A former Biden aide called them rogue royals, and the Bidens, who admired Queen Elizabeth, refused to walk into the family feud. Then, Harry lost something even more symbolic. Jill Biden had regularly supported Invictus, but once she became First Lady, she stopped appearing beside him, not because of the veterans, because of the optics around Harry. Invictus was the one respected platform he built, yet even there, his name had become delicate. So the American ladder became chillingly clear. Senate seat, no. Oval Office, no. Blair House, no. First Lady at Invictus, gone. And none of those refusals came from William. That is why this story is still moving. Netflix ran out of momentum. Spotify ran out of momentum. One commercial partnership after another slowly lost its shine, and suddenly the biggest Meghan ever possessed became impossible to ignore. It was never California. It was never Hollywood. It was never celebrity. It was always the royal family they had spent 5 years criticizing. As those business opportunities weakened, another uncomfortable phrase surfaced: too important self-deportations. Whether fair or unfair, the conversation had shifted away from expansion and toward retreat. Every closed contract suddenly made Britain look less like a choice and more like the only remaining stage. Even America no longer appeared emotionally invested in keeping them. Television commentators openly described their possible departure as one of the few subjects capable of producing rare political agreement. Yet one American door had not completely closed. Russell Quirk carefully stressed that what followed remained speculation, not established fact. Freedom of information requests surrounding Prince Harry's U.S. visa were still active, with a disclosure decision expected around the middle of October. Nobody knew exactly what those documents would reveal. But notice how the timeline itself created pressure. The kindest interpretation suggested Harry and Meghan had simply exhausted their opportunities in America. The harshest interpretation suggested they were leaving before another storm arrived. Either way, the aircraft seemed pointed toward Britain. Then, public opinion arrived with numbers instead of emotions. A YouGov survey questioning more than 5,000 people found only 21% believed Harry and Meghan should return to Britain, while 33% opposed the idea outright. Among those aged 65 and older, support fell even further, with only 20% believing they should relocate back to the United Kingdom. 1 in 5. That was the figure hanging over every conversation inside Balmoral. Before any royal relative answered the Sussexes, the country already had. One detail refused to disappear from every discussion. No apology. 5 years of accusations. The Oprah interview. The documentary, the Netflix series, the memoir Spare, endless headlines, interviews, and allegations. Yet critics repeatedly pointed out that no public apology had ever accompanied any of it. Now, Britain was being asked not only to welcome Harry and Meghan home, but potentially to help finance their return. The argument immediately shifted from forgiveness to cost. Then came perhaps the most uncomfortable comparison of the entire week. A former head of royal protection placed Harry and Meghan's security debate in the same conversation as Prince Andrew. That comparison did not come from social media or anonymous online comments. It came from someone once responsible for protecting the royal family itself. The implication was devastating. The institution had already demonstrated that one royal could be cut loose when circumstances demanded it. Suddenly, people began wondering whether Harry's position had quietly drifted into the same category. Yet while every institutional door appeared to be closing, the Sussexes themselves were reportedly attempting to build another future. Tina Brown, who knew Princess Diana personally and has written extensively about the royal family, described severe public backlash surrounding reports linking Meghan Markle with Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. According to those reports, the reaction became strong enough that moving forward allegedly became impossible. But another mystery immediately emerged. There had been no official Netflix announcement, no statement from Guy Ritchie, no confirmation that a third series had even been commissioned. Reports suggested only preliminary discussions had existed. So how had Meghan's name reached newspapers before any formal agreement reportedly existed? Somebody leaked a role that technically did not yet exist. That meant the British public debated Meghan Markle's supposed comeback before a contract had allegedly been signed anywhere. Because this was no longer simply about Prince Harry returning to support a father battling cancer. That was the accusation taking shape. Publicly, the journey could be presented as family duty. But critics argued every surrounding detail suggested something different. Legal pressure, financial strain, commercial decline, political rejection, and institutional exclusion. They believed the image no longer matched the explanation. Everything returned to one symbol, the badge without the job. The White House reportedly refused to treat Harry and Meghan like working royals. Prince William reportedly secured the king's agreement against restoring that role inside Britain. Different governments, different institutions, same conclusion. And that is why the rooms mattered from the very beginning. Not Buckingham Palace, not Windsor Castle, not Highgrove, not Blair House, not the Oval Office, not the Sandringham Christmas Walk, not the working royal family. Reports instead suggested a far smaller possibility, a spare room at an uncle's house, discussed as the practical solution because every grander residence had effectively disappeared from reach. Harry and Meghan once reportedly sought accommodation reserved for presidents, prime ministers, and monarchs. Now the conversation had narrowed to borrowing a spare bedroom from family. More importantly, the reported promise Prince William secured at Balmoral meant the only door that truly carried constitutional significance, the route back into the working monarchy, was no longer merely closed. It was locked with King Charles's authority. The remaining question is whether that lock can survive whatever happens next.